It's the moment you didn't know you're waiting for.
He is Carter.
He's Chad.
And this is the Irish
365 podcast.
Chad, this is Lou Holtz. That's head coach of Notre Dame for 11 years. Greatest experience of my life. They're starting a Notre Dame podcast this summer. I have a podcast as well, but it's not about Notre Dame football, although I wish there were. But congratulations on your success. And it would be nice if I could be on your podcast, but my schedule is so hectic. But anything that has to do with Notre Dame, I'm all for it. God bless you. Go Irish.
Welcome into Irish 365, episode 10, Purdue postgame.
This is it.
That's what we wanted.
The postgame talk.
I mean, I don't feel like I have to get everything off my chest today.
Yes.
Like we're going to go on an hour ranting spiel.
That was a lot better than last
I
weekend.
think we can just talk about a nice football game we attended yesterday, right?
Yeah, the game I expected to see last week, I got to see this week.
Yeah, not the game we're expecting whatsoever for this week. My expectations were low, and maybe that's what made it seem so great. I saw an interesting tweet before the game. You know what's going to make this game so frustrating is when we go out and beat Purdue by so much, we're going to wonder, why did this happen last week? You know, I kind of did feel that after the game, like, man, should have happened last week. But props Northern Illinois once again. I mean, they beat us. Let's get over it. We're on a Purdue.
Yeah.
And we just
can't change the past. Focus on the present. And
yeah. I mean, Notre Dame gives Purdue their biggest loss in school history. And that's saying something because Ohio State and Michigan have put some butt whoopings on Purdue back in still are, but largest loss in Purdue school history.
Yeah, so it was good. We talked about this in the pregame. You know, we needed one more data point, and that's all this was one more data point. I wouldn't jump to conclusions about playoffs, and I wouldn't get too excited or too high or too low on anything we saw. But it's another data point, so we can put that in our mix for conversation and discussion. But that's about all we can do with it. So let's just talk about the travel yesterday, the visit and the game. Let's just kind of walk through it. So we left here and it was a short 2-hour drive. One misstep on my part, and that was planning for parking. Normally I figure out parking in advance. I've been to Purdue games before, didn't expect it to be a sellout, like hard to find parking, but it was
You say not expect it to be a sellout.
Well,
the game was a sellout.
Parking wise, I did not expect parking to be difficult, but it was more difficult parking than I expected. I think that's probably where I just misjudged what it was.
You didn't realize they didn't sell parking day of game online.
Yeah, exactly. So I looked earlier in the week. I could find parking passes through Purdue's website for $30 or $40, not too far from the stadium. You know, like, hey, I'll get parking. And then we knew like there'd be some parking houses, things around the area. So I looked day of game and then was just going to buy a parking pass and realized, oh crap, they stopped selling them 24 hours before the game. And then it's just first come, first serve. So we were like, oh, well, we'll just get some cash and we'll park in someone's yard.
You recovered nicely.
Yeah, we did recover nicely. So Christy had done some scouting of some friends that had already gone and had been at Purdue most of the day. And they're like, yeah, parking in the garages and stuff and the lots is sold out. You're going to have to find a fraternity house. And, you know, you're going to pay $80, $100 to park there. And we're like, oh, no. So we stopped to get some road snacks, some pre-game hydration drinks, and what I ended up deciding to do was go downtown Lafayette and park, and we Ubered. So we found a parking garage in downtown right off South Street and parked for free because it was free parking on the weekends. I think it was a $8 Uber ride plus tip, so like $14 to get from the parking garage and we got dropped off right outside Mackey Arena, so it was a real short walk around Mackey into Ross-Ade Stadium, and we walked right in our gate. So worked out really well. Knew there was a risk post game about everybody and their brother who wanted an Uber trying to get one.
Yeah.
The guy told us pretty much where to get picked up, the best place to get picked up, and fortunately, as the game went on, what was it, Carter? In the start of the fourth quarter, what do you think? 30% full.
Yeah, that'd be generous, but yeah, 30% full is probably.
At most, it was 30% full, and of that 30%, had to be 70, 80% Notre Dame fans left.
And what we said is the Purdue band left, it would have been 90% Irish.
Yeah, I mean, it was so after the game, traffic wasn't difficult. Getting an Uber wasn't difficult.
Yeah, I think if you have to halftime, you might have had some traffic issues, but I think we kind of waited out the traffic. So
Yeah,
it's kind of in our favor.
waiting till post game made it much easier from a traffic standpoint. So, we did get an Uber XL on the way back, so it cost a few extra bucks. So with tip, I think it was like $16, but we were still somewhere well under the $30 or right about the $30 parking area. So it worked out really
And we
well.
probably walked a lot less.
And we did walk a lot less. I think I only had about 5,000 steps in yesterday, which was surprisingly low.
I had 90 stairs though.
90. Okay, well,
There
we
were
were in row
Row
69.
Yeah.
So, but it seems like a lot worse. But when you come into Purdue, I think you walk in at like row 35
Yeah,
or 40, and then you either go down or you go up. So you were up 35, 40 steps. And why did you have so many steps in, Carter?
I had to keep drinking that water. It was warm yesterday.
It was. It wasn't A&M warm, but it was.
Some people try to convince us it was.
It was warm, yeah. So
hotter than A&M.
I'm not buying what they're
People behind
selling.
us.
I'm not buying what they're selling, but
Yeah.
it was hot. I was definitely like, we got there before kickoff probably 45, 50 minutes. And
Yeah.
I mean, and at that point, I don't think it was too bad, but we were in our seats. Our section was a lot of Irish fans.
But we got tickets to the university.
Yep.
So we were in the Notre Dame section.
But yeah, we're there 45, 50 minutes before kickoff. I mean, I'm feeling pretty good though. Just no one's around us. But then as we get closer to that kickoff time, start realizing our seats aren't like our seats seem like small children with.
They were narrow width, and then like the distance between you and the person in front of you behind you wasn't very much.
Yeah.
Like,
So as the stadium filled up, because it was sold out yesterday at start the game, they sold out. But it was definitely got hot when all of our bodies were packed there together. I mean, it was 87, 88, I think.
yeah. Well, pregame, as we're watching warm-ups, you felt the breeze.
Yeah.
We were facing into the sun.
Yeah.
But then you realize that they got this visitor section. They got black and gold bleachers, and the visitor section is mostly the black bleachers.
Yeah. I think it's the lower is the gold, if I was looking at it correctly.
And that's John Purdue Club.
Yeah, and then the rest were black.
Yeah. So we were sitting in the black bleachers, the whole ND section. I think from us pretty much down toward the field, the majority of it was Notre Dame fans. Our section, the section to our right, and so we're what, I don't know, 10-yard line
Yeah, I think so.
ish, and then clear down to the goal line on that
On the Notre Dame sideline.
on the Notre Dame sideline. And yeah, I mean, I don't know how many "Let's Go Irish" chants. Clearly, the Irish contingent was much louder than the Purdue contingent.
Yeah.
After kickoff, I think Purdue had a little bit of noise, a little bit of juice in the crowd prior to kickoff. Once we got the ball, what little juice they had was gone.
Yeah, I was gonna say it wasn't. I mean, walking in when I was going to get water, I think right before the game started, "Let's Go Irish" chant broke out down in the concourse area, and Purdue people were trying to get in there, but it was clearly much louder a "Let's Go Irish" chant than they were wanting.
Yeah. So there was, I don't know how they got seats. I assume they're friends of Notre Dame people, or Notre Dame people had bought the tickets and then sold them post NIU or whatever. But there was 4 or 5 people who were Purdue people, right in front of us, in the midst of a sea of green.
Yeah.
And a few people had the Notre Dame yellow on, which, the Notre Dame yellow.
The shirt this year.
The shirt, right?
Yeah.
Which is a great shirt, but at a Purdue game, you don't know if that's Purdue gold or if that's Notre Dame yellow or gold. So anyway, but there was a handful of those people. And so when a "Let's Go Irish" chant broke out, they were giving us an NIU. They were trying to yell NIU in the middle of it. And that was kind of funny. Okay, that's a good taunt.
Yeah.
And that was the only fun the Purdue people had that game. So we'll let them have that.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was kind of an interesting crowd. It was an interesting mix. I think, you expect not to be in the best seats when you're the visiting fans.
Oh no.
And Purdue did a nice job of making visiting fans uncomfortable. And the other thing I thought was added to the misery of the day was they sell tenderloins, which if you're from Indiana, you know what a tenderloin is. They sell tenderloins at the concession stand. So here we are sitting in our seats right above the concourse area and the tenderloin area, and it's I could just smell hot grease, and it's that just does not make me happy with this hot day to smell hot grease.
It was really strong walking in.
Yeah.
Yeah, it just did not add to the experience unless I was just wanting a tenderloin. I don't think, I don't think it was. So it was just nice job, Purdue, on making the visiting fans uncomfortable. I guess give you credit for that.
Yeah, about all they had going for them yesterday.
Yeah, well, that was the highlights for and they have the big drum. They did have the big drum going yesterday because they can't bring that to Notre Dame.
Yep, not in our stadium.
Not in our
The
stadium.
train horn.
Yeah, and a train.
I was gonna say, Caden was like, "Well, it's just a train." I mean,
So
yeah.
that's kind of the game experience. Now,
Oh, we gotta talk about this. Scoreboard. Come on now. Speakers.
Oh
Come
yeah,
on now.
yeah. I had done a little research about Ross Aid and some of the expansions and stuff, and I've been going to Ross Aid since the 90s. I think Christy talked about going there in the 90s and how it felt more like a high school stadium back then.
Right.
Yeah.
And they did have an expansion, and like they did this $10 million expansion that they're boasting about, this high definition television. And I mean, it is a big jumbotron. It does have
Yeah.
good picture quality, but the sound was awful.
Yeah.
Like they were trying to interview
Yeah.
people. There was one point where the university president was on there, I think.
Couldn't even hear the dude.
I
mean, it might have been the university president. It might have been some John. We don't know.
Yeah, it might have been just some random they picked out of the crowd, but it was just very difficult to hear. Oh, the sound quality's not good at all for what you have. The DJ sound was good,
Yeah.
and that was about it.
But it's only coming from that left side near the students. Like
Yeah.
you don't have a full surround sound in that, which most stadiums in 2024 do, except if you're Louisville or Purdue, I guess.
Yeah, so the sound quality wasn't awesome. The jumbotron was good. Sound quality wasn't. But yeah, that was some of the highlights of that game day experience, or lowlights, depending how you look at it. I mean, and it was funny because the Purdue fans at one point, I think, were just like, "This is normal." They didn't know what to expect.
Yeah.
And like they don't know any better. They didn't know any different. Like, I don't think they've been to a lot of games outside of that. Now
Yeah.
we have to do the over and under for Edie jerseys. That was part of the pregame talk. So how'd you do, Carter?
It was under. I think we saw 6 or 7.
6 or 7. We did see 6 or 7.
Yeah, and I feel like we weren't near the students. I feel like if we'd have been near the student body, we would have seen quite a bit more. But definitely, I was surprised not to see more, though, just walking around campus, just because it was so freaking hot out.
Yeah.
But I think I only saw one basketball jersey that wasn't Edie, so I mean, I felt pretty good about that. But yeah, I mean,
And Purdue does a good job of like coordinating all their students into that end zone underneath the jumbotron and that standing section only. So yeah, the idea behind that is to give the students a place to be loud, rowdy, and hang out with each other, and maybe try and influence the game if they can, and not take away seats that paying John Purdue Club members would want to have. So we first walked around that corner from Mackey, and I don't know, I got hit with 6 or 7 Breeze jerseys like in the first 2
off the
minutes.
bat, yeah.
First 2 minutes, I'm like, it's going to be a Drew Brees jersey kind of day. I don't know what the total count of Breeze jerseys was, but it was over 10.
Yeah.
And we did see 3 Joe Montana jerseys. So
Yeah, and one T-shirt.
and a
T-shirt jersey.
T-shirt
I was
jersey, yeah.
like, whoa, we're changing it up, people. Where are we getting the I still haven't figured out where we're getting the Joe Montana jerseys, let alone the T-shirt jerseys.
Yeah, so I mean,
good for that guy. He's on it.
did not expect that coming into the game.
Yeah.
So anyway, that was kind of the experience.
And one Golden Tate jersey.
Yes, a Manti Te'o blowing bubbles.
Bubbles. Yeah, Manti Te'o under the lights versus Michigan jersey. Sweet jersey.
Yeah.
Game sucked.
So do we want to
Blowing
talk?
bubbles.
Do you want to talk about the Kyron Williams Shamrock jersey from 2021?
Yeah, I saw a kid with the Las Vegas Shamrock Series jersey, Kyron Williams. It was probably the most China thing I've ever seen. And I love a good China purchase every once in a while. But Kyron Williams wasn't on that team that wore that jerseys. So that did crack me up quite a bit. But good for that kid. Big Kyron Williams fan.
Yeah.
Love that jersey.
Love the jersey, love Kyron Williams. Just didn't know that was a combo.
Yeah.
But my favorite shirt of the day had to be the guy that was sitting behind us, the Notre Dame fan.
Yeah.
He clearly had a cricket,
Yep.
and he admitted it later. And it said, "Bring back Brian Kelly."
Yep.
That shirt got a lot of reaction, both good and bad, from people. There was a lot of people saw it for the joke that it was.
Yeah.
And those guys started the chant before the game. We want CJ Carr, basically, and I thought that was a little premature. It's like, come on, let's not jump at the freshman.
Hey, but they got him.
But they got they did get some CJ Carr. They admitted openly that they would be happy with anybody other than Leonard. Their faith in Leonard,
But they also didn't know who Kenny Minchie
was low. Yeah, that's a little disappointing. Like, you didn't know Kenny Minchie, which we can break down quarterback play here in a little bit.
Yeah.
But, so, Christy, what's your impressions from the crowd, the experiences we walked in? We haven't given you a chance to speak on that.
We were definitely around some obnoxious Notre Dame fans.
Passionate is what they
Oh,
did. I'm sure they would.
I think they just had pre-gamed. They had hit the tailgates.
Definitely. So, yeah, they were just going to complain no matter what right from the get-go, and they wanted Riley Leonard benched. So, yes, we had that. We talked about these small bleachers, both wide and depth.
Props to Purdue. They probably aren't used to games selling out. Like when they built this stadium, they were like, "Oh well, people can spread out amongst the rows. Doesn't really matter too much." So just
I mean, it felt like we were on a discount airline. I
Yeah,
mean, you didn't have much
absolutely.
leg room. It was
A
There
discount,
was
yeah.
all the water bottles and beer cans. Every time someone stood up to cheer for Notre Dame, they were kicking their beer cans and then they were hitting us in the back of the legs from
Yeah, and it wasn't
the row
intentional. It was
behind
just there was that lack of
There
room
was
that
just no room.
if you stood up, you were kicking whatever was in
so
front.
is
So
that
that
is that
wasn't fun.
stadium poorly designed? Because a bunch of Purdue engineers, I expect better.
That's what I'm saying. You have
Or
Purdue engineers.
or was it the marketing guys got to the engineers and said, let's figure out a way to sell more bottles of water and beer in the stadium.
Yeah.
If people
Maybe.
keep kicking them over, they're going to replace them.
Yeah.
Maybe.
So it was one of the two. I don't know which. But I also know that it was a Purdue engineer that designed Assembly Hall, and that building's atrocious. So I'm beginning to think it's something to do with the Purdue architecture program. So
Right.
if you want to be an architect, go to Ball State. That's all I'm going to say.
One of my takeaways, I did notice all of the Purdue fans were sitting in the shade based
Yes.
on where
Not-
the sun was
yeah.
hitting. So not
Yeah.
all of them, but a big portion of them.
The high-paying dollar ones.
Yeah, in the shade. So I was a little jealous of that.
Yeah.
Caden and I walked down to the concessions to get water pre-halftime. They had ran out of cold water and were serving, like they had put more water in the fridge, but she said the water is not going to be cold at all, and it wasn't. We got warm water, so that was not fun.
Yeah.
And the other thing I noticed that, and I'm sorry, I'm very
No.
negative about this game, but there was standing water. Like when you walked right out of where our entrance was to our seats out to the concession area and the bathroom area, there was puddles of water that you had to either walk through or go down and walk around. And
Yeah.
I don't know. I just was not very impressed with Purdue's.
Yeah, and after the game, they got the hoses out and were like,
Well, not after the game. It was still during the game
game.
because when we were walking out,
because we swapped over and went to the other side to get in the
shade.
shade and just sit in the John Purdue high dollar section.
because it was empty for some reason.
Yeah, it was because there was no one there. We found some cheers with seat backs we sat in, and I don't think I'd have paid the extra $10 for those seats. They weren't that comfortable. So yeah,
Again, very narrow seats.
but we experienced the Purdue experience from both sides. But yeah, they had gotten hoses out and they had washed down the concourse, and there was just water standing everywhere, and it was just like,
I think they realized all the Purdue people left, so just Notre Dame people to
yeah, that's
make mad.
That's it. And DJ Bandcamp never did play my song, so I don't know why I even bothered to hashtag him on social. So.
Yeah. But if it wasn't so hot yesterday, there's probably a pretty good chance we would have ended up with some of that Domino's cheese bread I did see they had there because that stuff is fantastic.
It looked good.
Yeah.
But I was just like, it's too hot. I don't feel like eating right
Yeah, we
And-
only had water from concessions. They had all this hot, greasy food.
Yeah.
But the Domino's did look good, but nobody was hungry in that heat.
Yeah, and then there was a Freddy's hamburger stand, which I know a lot of people like Freddy's. It's a mid-grade burger to me. Not on my top 10 places to go for.
Yeah, I know Maddie's not on here, but I know she'll shout out a Freddy's milkshake any chance she gets.
Okay,
so.
yeah. Well, the milkshakes may be delicious, and I don't know if they had milkshakes. I didn't even bother to go to the Freddy's concession stand.
They
But
see
yeah.
some Kona Ice out there. I'm sure they did yesterday.
Yeah, they probably did really well.
But-
So that was the experience side of it. Let's get into the game side of it, because I think the game side was the most enjoyable and most surprising of all of this. And to some degree, I say surprising only from the score standpoint. I think we saw what we expected. We talked about, like, if I'm Purdue, what do I need to do to win the game? And, we talked about stop the run, make Riley Leonard throw.
Yeah.
And that was their plan. I think that's what they came in with. And, Notre Dame, we talked about, run your scripted plays, score early, and,
Yeah, we said on that last pregame podcast, Notre Dame's going to score the first drive. What's
Yeah.
after that, right?
but it was keep the passes short. Don't try and push the ball downfield. Just get Leonard comfortable. Let him run. And so what? His first pass was a shovel pass of traveled in the yard a whole half yard and got a few yards. And then the other thing we said, if you want to win the game, and I think you had it circled, starred, check marked, double starred,
Whatever you're highlighted, maybe.
highlighted, bold print, red ink, whatever it is you do to make something jump off a page. What was that, Carter, you thought?
Jeremiah, get that dude the football.
Yes. And
What
we
did
did a good job of that yesterday, and it paid in
I mean, that
spades.
first touchdown, 48 yards right there.
So I thought it was interesting. I don't know if you picked up on this, but on that play, pre-snap, they had 10 men in the box. And we jokingly said, if I'm Purdue, 11 men in the box.
Yeah.
Their safety came down. I think technically when that ball was snapped, they had 11 men in the box.
Yeah.
But Love got to the outside, and the only guy chasing him down was a outside or middle linebacker.
No
and
chance.
yeah, he was quick for middle linebacker, but he wasn't as fast enough. And I don't even know if Jeremiah Love physically was touched on that play.
Yeah.
If someone may have got a hand on him, but
48 yards, not touched.
Yeah. I think it was almost. I may have been untouched if he was touched at all. It was just a hand. But yeah, he went 48 yards to the house. That pretty much silenced the Purdue faithful at that point. And that was a great run, great first drive. Then we followed up with a kick, and I think the Notre Dame defense, especially the front seven, had stepped up, and we had committed ourselves to not letting Purdue run.
Yeah.
Like, it was obvious that lesson learned. We are not going to let you gash us with the run, because Purdue tried.
Yeah.
And all the credit to Purdue, they tried to do exactly what NIU did to us.
Yeah.
So we had adjusted, and the team had played with a lot more intensity, and they didn't look past Purdue. They weren't looking to Louisville. They weren't looking to, they were like, we're here now. We're going to win this game.
Yeah, I think we only let up like 40 or 45 yards on the ground.
Yeah, I think.
Because we had 162, Purdue had 162 yards total offense that game, and I think Carr went for like 124.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, and they were negative rush at one point.
Yeah, they were, not with sacks and everything, but yeah, they were negative in the rushing department.
So early on, we'd held it down, and the Irish did exactly what they needed to do to like win the game. Just come out and play. And I feel like the game plan we had was a game plan to stop Purdue. It wasn't just us running. It was like we said, okay, this is what we do, but this is how we're going to adjust. And so I thought the coaching game plan was much better. I think for me, probably the best thing to see was the team responded from the NIU loss. You can either the coach is either going to rally the team or he's going to lose the team.
I mean, we got to talk about this. Our first kickoff, so we go down we get the opening kickoff. We go down and score, but that hit on that. I don't remember who it is right now. I'm blanking on it, but I could have told you 5 minutes ago. But it was like, team was fired up to go. Yeah. I mean, he just went down and that poor Purdue guy did nothing wrong. Just was running down trying to pick up a block, and he just got a lot of anger unleashed on him. Right
he was in the wrong place at the wrong time.
Yeah,
just doing his job. But we were clearly coming out and setting a tone. We were coming out to play, and I think that was our freshman defensive end. Did I help you out?
No.
All right. So anyway,
do you know who it was? Just say who it was. Okay. See.
Now I'm blanking. So.
See.
So nothing.
So anyway, I think that was him that made the play. But anyway, it was just massive tone-setting hit right on the beginning, and then we sold out and stopped the run. Like, we weren't going to give up a lot in the passing zones, but we sold out and stopped the run. So that was good to see. I think from the Notre Dame perspective, I felt really good about the run game on our offense. I felt really good about the run-stopping game on our defense. Our secondary played really well. BMO almost had an interception there that if the receiver hadn't stood in front of him and blocked his view, he would have intercepted the ball. So that was solid. I still think our special teams game needs a little work.
Yeah, I think we're only averaging like 38.5 yards per punt.
Yeah, so with the rumored of this Australian kicker coming in and hitting the ball 60 yards, 6-second hang times, all these crazy propaganda things we heard, it's just disappointing that we're not doing better than that. But
yeah, I think his long punt for us was 44 yards or something. Like, it's not terrible, but just when you're hyped up that you're hitting these 60-yard punts with whatever, and then you come out here and you're averaging 39, like you're not even getting to 40 yards a punt. Just like, what are we doing?
I think the only thing, like, we kicked a field goal, and it was, 42?
Yeah.
And if you looked at where that ball hit...
That was the third quarter.
That was the third quarter. But when you looked at where that ball hit the net, it hit the net at the bottom of the net. I don't think distance-wise, 50-52 is probably our kicker's range based on that kick, at least as far as a comfortable kick goes. Now, he might be able to, like, put everything he's got into it, hit a perfect ball, and go slightly over that. But I think 52 is probably where he's comfortable. And so it really goes back to previous week why we tried kicking a 60. But not impressed with that. But we did get blocking, so that was good. But the kickoff, we've got to talk about our kickoff, because I think I saw two different things from our kickoff guy, and I think it's more skill than anything else. He had a ball or two that hit right before the end zone, and then one bounced in and one right at the front of the end zone. but he had one kickoff, and the wind wasn't strong, and it wasn't to his
No.
back.
Worcester's a little stronger.
But he,
Wasn't.
yeah, we could have used a little more wind.
Yeah.
But he hit one ball, 15, 20 yards out of the back of the end zone.
I mean, at least 10. Like, Purdue, like, there's a big gap between, is it that north end zone? Is that what it is?
Yeah.
Or that north end zone where it's like the fans are back. I mean, he hit it into the cheerleaders, and I think that ball bounced, like one bounce into the stands.
Yeah, I mean, he crushed it.
Yeah.
It's like,
And that was an early one, probably second or third kickoff he had.
yeah, so that was a
It
well-kicked
was like,
ball.
holy, like it left his foot, and I'm like, that thing's carrying.
So I feel good about our kickoff game. We saw a lot of that yesterday, which was great to see in the Purdue game. A lot of the kickoff. I like seeing a lot of the kickoff, and I like seeing very little punt. I like seeing very little field goals. So hopefully we don't do a lot of punting and a lot of field goals going forward. But I know everybody knows that Purdue's not the strongest team in our.
Yeah, some people saying Purdue might be the worst Power 3 or Power 4 team. in
Yeah.
America,
So
which could be, but they beat Indiana State, so
That's
not the
right.
worst team in Indiana.
that's right. And so defensively, I felt really good about what we did defensively. I mean, Card, the defense or the quarterback for Purdue, he got some yards, but it was
And there's a lot of drop passes by Purdue. Let's not.
yeah.
I mean, Card put 3 or 4 like right on a dude's hands, and it was like, I
Yeah.
kind of felt bad for him. It was like that was a pretty good ball, and it just hit a wide open dude.
Yeah, I mean, he made some good throws, but overall, like, I
From
think
the
defensively we played well.
And here's the key from defense: Purdue was 1 for 12 yesterday on third down.
Yeah.
I mean, that's not just because our defense obviously stepped up on third down, but we had them in good first and down situations where their third down was 3rd and 6 or more most times.
Yeah, we were keeping it 3rd and long. We did not let them get to that 3rd and short like we let NIU. So much better performance there.
Yeah. I mean, there was one, I think we had them in 3rd and 20 something. They picked up 15 or 20 yards, and it was like, nope, it's still 4th and 7 or 4th and 5 or something. It was just like, okay, our defense showed up yesterday, and I was expected them bounce back, not let up anything.
Well, I think Al Golden knew that, we lost NIU because we gave up 14 points.
Yeah.
Right? So he
16.
was or 16, but he knew, like, we just had to give up less points than the offense scored. So I think that was his message to the defense, and I think they took it to heart. Like, hey, if they don't score, they can't beat us.
Yeah. I mean, our defense hasn't let up more than 50 points in 3 games, or more than 50 total points through 3 games, but just like they got to,
Not a concern for me. Defense is not a concern for me right now. I was a little concerned last week about some tackling and a little concerned about how much we were giving up the run. What I saw against Purdue, which I thought running would be a strength for Purdue, but what I saw yesterday, if we can continue to play that kind of defense, I'm going to feel good about defense. Now let's talk about offense.
Yep. Here's
I think that's where the conversation goes.
here's where the combo is. So Riley Leonard yesterday, let's start off 11 for 16, 112 yards, 11 carries, 100 yards, and 3 touchdowns all on the ground.
Yeah.
I don't think here's my confusion. So we were told Riley Leonard has this non-throwing injury on his non-throwing shoulder injury.
Right.
On it, yeah.
So he didn't run at all that second half last week. That shoulder, he was getting out of bounds early, but he took a few hits, and I mean he ran the ball well.
Yeah, he ran.
There was no doubt about that.
extremely
He ran the ball very well. Yes, I mean he had over 100 yards. He was the first college. Well, we got to throw this out. First college football player to have 100 passing yards and 100 rushing yards, and 3 touchdowns?
And 3 touchdowns.
In one half since Heisman Trophy winner Lamar Jackson.
Yes, and that was the year Lamar Jackson won a Heisman Trophy.
Yeah. So I mean,
Go Riley.
go running Riley, I guess. Maybe that's what we'll call him now. Running Riley.
Brendan Riley. Yeah, well, that's probably inappropriate. I think it's interesting that he is in that category from the conversation. But when I looked at Lamar Jackson playing in Louisville, I do not think Riley Leonard.
You don't see a comp there?
I do not see the comp. And he's a phenomenal running quarterback, and he brings a dynamic to the game. And I know there was, we talked about the Notre Dame fans behind us that were really cheering for, C.J. Carr or Angeli to get in or whoever, and
Not Minchie,
but they were cheering for whoever to get in, and I get it. Like, I'm not sold on Riley Leonard, but at the same time, like, okay, you knew the coaches were going to play him and he was going to be the guy. And we talked about how much leash does he get? What does he have to do to get, taken out of the game or stay in the game? And
didn't turn the ball over.
he did not turn the ball over. And he ran well. And, I like that about Denbrock's play calling is he again, he kept the passes short. He did not try and push. Did Riley even get a pass over 20 yards yesterday? I don't think he
He had
did.
the opportunity to.
Even with he missed.
Yes.
He missed a few balls.
I mean, he threw a couple over 20. They're all incomplete, though. He threw the
Yeah.
two that were underthrown and way off to the side, it looked like.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, he had a few that was like touchdowns, and it was not there. So, yeah, our starting quarterback through 3 games has not thrown a passing touchdown yet.
Yeah. And anything over 5 or 6 yards, his accuracy is a little shaky. I mean, there were some balls he completed, but they were thrown behind the receiver, not in front of the receiver. And I feel bad for the kid because, we know he has the potential.
He won the Manning Passing
Passing.
Academy long ball competition.
He's a practicer. He's not a gamer. And so it's really bothered me, and I thought about this on the way home last night. It's like, okay, if I am Marcus Freeman and I've seen this kid like pass really well in practice, and if I'm Mike Denbrock and I've seen the kid pass really well in practice, I keep saying to myself, if it clicks, if this kid can transition, if I can get this, and as a coach, right, you always think you can get the best out of your players. Like if coaches are type A personalities and they've got egos and they think they can do great things. I see it in my line of work, people thinking they can get the best out of an employee or, they're a great manager and, they'll hang on to something because they know that person has potential and they're just like, if I can bring it out of them. And I think that's where we're at with Riley Leonard. I think they know like, hey, in practice, this kid can throw the ball and he makes good decisions. Usually, I think he struggles to see the field sometimes, but I'm starting to wonder if it's struggling to see the field or if it's just confidence in himself in a game situation.
I mean, I think we got to pull up the picture and get into lack of confidence on this one because if for our visual learners, I mean, you've got our best player probably on the opposite side of the ball, Jeremiah Love, wide open for 10, 15 yards, no black jerseys around him on that one.
He's standing, he's standing on the 15-yard line, no one within 15 yards of him. All Riley Leonard's got to do is throw it.
And it's not like he doesn't see him because, I mean, I'm trying to look at his head angle, and it just looks like he's staring right at him.
Yeah.
And this is a 3rd down play right here.
And you can see that Jeremiah Love's hand is up, like
I will say
waving for calling for the ball.
It was not just the people behind us that weren't Riley Leonard fans. I've never heard Notre Dame pick up a 3rd down play and that many Notre Dame fans boo. That we picked up a 3rd down play.
Yeah.
Because I think he missed one long ball right before, 1 or 2 of the long balls right before this where he threw it and just not to us. It was just hit the ground. But
his accuracy just is not.
But it was just like, and this was right in front of us. So right where Jeremiah Love, we're probably, we're 69,
rows up,
79, whatever it was, rows up. So we're like sitting right there. We're like, oh my goodness. And Riley Leonard does go run and pick up this 1st down, but it's just like, dude.
Yeah, he covered the distance. He got the first down.
This is what I was saying. This is a ball, though, that he's so open. You can just loft it up, and Jeremiah Love can go find it as long as you don't bullet it in.
Yeah.
Like, it's not like it's got to be right to Jeremiah on this one. You can literally loft this ball up, and Jeremiah Love has so much time he'll catch it and score still.
But it sums up where we're at with Riley Leonard as a quarterback. He just doesn't have the confidence to make that throw for whatever reason.
Yeah.
And whether he's been told not to make those throws, whether he's just doesn't have the confidence to make those throws, whatever it is. And so, people are calling for Angeli, and I thought Angeli played great yesterday from a throwing standpoint. There was a couple of really good throws that he made.
And so Angeli went 6 for 9, 100 yards and 2 touchdowns.
Yeah. And he threw the one ball like on the money, over the receiver's shoulder. I mean, leading the receivers. Well, the one touchdown where there was like a rub play, I think it was the 2nd touchdown.
Yeah.
Where the tight ends were kind of running like a rub play. It's not quite a pick play. But the guy he wanted to go to was the tight end going out. And he wasn't open, but the guy who was supposed to be the rub ended up wide open. And Angeli recognized it, made a great throw right on the money, got the guy the ball. It was a touchdown.
I mean, you just saw the confidence though from Denbrock. 2nd play, Angeli throws a passing touchdown to a wide open tight end.
Yeah. I mean,
we're up 49-0 at this point. But Denbrock's like, we got to score a passing touchdown. We can't be seeing the stat anymore, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Like, we can't just run the ball here. We need our receivers to get some work because they have not.
Yeah, and we didn't talk about Price, but we got to talk about Price. Come back on that run he had, 60, 70 yards. 70 yards.
So, okay, just over a minute left on the clock, though.
Yeah, it was like just
Purdue's punting, and we don't call a timeout with 2 timeouts.
Yeah, and then it's like, okay, we're not trying to score here. We're just going to run the ball, and like he bust open a 70-yarder. Just like, okay, we've got 2 dynamic backs. I mean,
But yeah,
Jeremiah
I mean,
Love
we were
is-
trying to get
is
into the
one.
half there, and it was,
Yeah.
which I was kind of mad about. Up 35, or up, was it 42?
Yeah.
35, 42, whatever.
First half, you try and score.
Yeah,
If you want to get your second, string, third string guys in after that, fine. But yeah,
Yeah.
first half, you just put it on until halftime, and then you keep it on.
yeah,
You just put in the quote unquote second and third string guys that are theoretically less talented.
yeah.
But you don't let up. You just have
Yeah.
those guys play hard. And if you end up with a 70-point game, you end up with a 70-point game.
Yep.
And I think we did that. And I thought that was good. We didn't get too conservative in the play calling, didn't get anything crazy. We kept it to what those guys are good at. You could say we were a little conservative there at the end when CJ Carr came in and just handed the ball off. But at that point, it's a couple plays left.
We're trying to get out of there, yeah.
But I think the one thing you have to think about Angeli, he ran the ball well. He does not run the ball as well as Leonard. He sees the field good, but he's really confident and he holds on to the ball probably a little too long in the pocket. So if you're asking why,
He sacked once or twice yesterday.
yeah, so if you're asking why Leonard is starting over Angeli when Angeli's clearly throwing a better ball, I think it's the intangibles of what Riley brings to the field as far as the threat of the run, because he's a threat to run the ball every time, where Angeli can run it, but he's not a threat. And then I think it's also like Riley gets rid of the ball or gets out of the pocket quickly, and Angeli's a little more apt to stay in the pocket and try
Trust his arm, though.
Yeah, trust his arm more. And so if you want more of a pro style quarterback, but Angeli was recruited by Reese, and I think that was more what Reese wanted in the play style. I think we could win games with Angeli. I don't think if Leonard's injury or gets re-injured or gets worse and we have to play Angeli, I have nothing but confidence in Angeli, and I think you can coach those things. But I keep thinking, I keep coming back to this. I think Riley Leonard has shown out in practice. He's shown he can throw good balls. So now the coaches are just trying to get him confidence. And it'll be interesting to see how that goes, because, again, we saw a Notre Dame team get booed by its fans when Riley Leonard ran for a first down but didn't throw the ball to Jeremiah Love
For a touchdown.
And now, so if I'm a quarterback and I'm in my own head and I'm questioning my own accuracy, and then the fans are getting on me, like, you've got to be a mentally...
And at this point, Purdue fans had already started to leave.
Yeah.
Like, it was it was loud. I don't know if you could hear it on TV or not, but it was loud. I mean, from at least our section.
Yeah, and so I'm sure the team heard it, because I know when there's some Irish chants, I mean, there was guys turning around looking up like, whoa, there's a loud Notre Dame contingent here. Like, the team clearly was able to verbally hear what was going on behind him from the fan section. So I think it's going to be interesting, because I think that's going to be the key for us, against Miami of Ohio. Like, okay, we've got to get, if we're going to stick with Leonard, we've got to get him confident in the passing game. And how do you do that? Like, how does the coach get him confident in the passing game? Because he just did not want to make that throw, and that was an easy throw for a high school quarterback.
Yeah.
And he didn't make it, so it was interesting.
All right. Well, what I got for game breakdown, I think we got to shout out some freshmen, though. KVA with his first career interception late in that game. I mean, didn't get much return on it, but good to see him just seeing the field. Obviously, it was late, scrap time, but still good for him. Also, Kenny Urlacher comes out, 3 tackles, and just was flying up the field at safety position. I mean, he was an exciting player to watch yesterday.
Yeah, Kenny Urlacher was,
I think, a 3-star
Four-star.
recruit. Yeah, and just was flying absolutely everywhere on there. So, I mean, that was a lot of fun to see. KVA and Kenny Urlacher coming out and playing really well. Shout out to Boubacar Traore with a pick 6 yesterday right before the half. That was pretty sweet. We didn't talk about that. And then, we didn't get into Price's stats. 8 carries for 86 yards in that long touchdown run. Over-under yesterday was 47.5, and I was not feeling good about that under going into the game. But Notre Dame alone covered that one for you. So if you were an over-better yesterday, props to you. Hey, since we're on the gambling thing,
Carter, I cannot wait to hear about your parlay.
Thank you. I was going to say, I mean, I don't know if anyone heard. I mean, let me check. Yeah.
How did you do?
Jeremiah Love touchdown. Did he go over 60 yards?
Think so.
Think so. Okay. Did he have over 5 receiving yards?
Think so.
And did Notre Dame win?
Yes.
Oh my goodness. Is that a win for Carter Drake's parlay of the week?
Wow.
He finally hit. Now, you got called out by Jordan B.
I know.
And I think he motivated you.
I mean, I was really in the lab this week. Let me tell you.
What about... Oh, go ahead.
No. I was in the lab this week, and I was really thinking to myself, I mean, do we really want to have to go on this podcast and tell the people that we lost again.
Right.
Yeah.
I didn't want to. I didn't want to do that. Did you guys want to do that?
I did not want to hear you do
I didn't
that.
want to talk about a loser again. So I really focused in, was reading the lines, looking at everything, and found us a winner this week.
Yeah.
Good job.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
so yeah, kudos.
And you know what? Jordan B.
Yeah, I want to know
Jordan
what
B.
he did.
Jordan B. Not your best week. Hudson Card, 175 passing yards. He only had 124.
Yeah. You know,
Jordan B, we need a better parlay next week, all right?
yeah, he was counting on, I think he was counting on some junk yards coming in.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, I think he was feeling pretty good at halftime when he was texting. Yeah, he was like, we're about to have. And then they hit the big, long passing play, and he was like,
yep.
oh, we got the second and thirds in here. We're going to pick this up. Because I think he was at 124 after that Purdue touchdown. Like,
Yeah.
he didn't get much more after that.
Yeah, no, but he played the entire game.
Yeah.
He did not come out. He just didn't get. And, you know, Adon Schuler played great yesterday.
Yeah.
Now we lost
Injuries kind of.
injuries. We had a couple of injuries. We had,
O-lineman go down. Batello went down. Carted off.
yeah. But that's what opened up the door for.
Yeah, we need to get into this after this. You can go just a sec.
Okay, go ahead.
No, me and Mom were definitely just disappointed in the Purdue. Like, they had the sky camp over the Notre Dame players while they're injured and getting, like, treatment. Like,
I was so mad.
I don't know what that's like.
Take the
That
camera off
that
the
never
injured
happens.
player.
That's
Yeah.
CBS Sports. That's not Purdue though. That's CBS Sports for the Sky Cam.
No, at the game.
Yeah.
Oh, it's CBS.
But Purdue doesn't have to put it on the
It was on
Jumbotron.
the Jumbotron.
Well, yeah, they didn't have to put it on the jumbotron. You're right.
That's what I'm saying. Like, why we got? And they just went. It's like, what are we doing?
Yeah. Well, they don't believe in HIPAA.
Yeah, I'm just like, goodness gracious.
Purdue's not known to be a medical school.
I mean-
Pharmaceutical maybe,
I mean,
but not medical school.
But just like, what? You don't put the injured guy like just leave a live cam on him. You don't know
Right.
what's going on. Like,
I know they're a great veterinarian school, but you don't worry about HIPAA with veterinarians. Like,
goodness gracious. So that just was just disappointing from the Purdue standpoint. Like,
Yes.
I don't care what the camera's over them or whatnot, because I mean, if they got to go back and rewatch something to whatever, but if something
Yeah,
terrible were to go
jumbo-
wrong,
While they're
Jumbotron,
laying there
but-
and you know they've already called a cart to
Cart,
come out and
yeah.
get them, take the camera off the injured player.
yeah,
Yeah.
So
So anyway, game day operations could be cleaner at Purdue.
yeah, come on.
And a
And
lot
I know
different-
they got a sports management program, so that's disappointing.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
You
It's
could
not
as
teach them
good
a
as-
few things.
Not as good as UND's.
there you go. Maybe that's the problem. They need a better sports management program. Because there was some game day operations opportunity just from the fan experience that were missed. But yeah, I think overall the team played well. I think it was good to see the second and third string guys get in. I would like to see a little more Kenny Minchie. I know he threw a great pass that got negated by a penalty, but he ran in a touchdown, so
Yep.
that was okay. And you know, I think when you look at the quarterbacks, they've all three got their own strengths and weaknesses. I think if you talk about a passer with a strong arm, Kenny Minchie's got the best arm of the group. He's probably as good a runner, if not better, than Leonard, but he doesn't have the decision-making experience that Leonard has.
Yeah,
You by far the most accurate passer I think we have has got to be, and decision maker has got to be Angeli. Just doesn't have the mobile escape side that Leonard has, and of course Leonard's just kind of got the most experience. So I think it's interesting, and it'll be interesting to see how it plays out. If Leonard stays healthy, and that's a concern at this point because he does punish himself when he runs. How do we go? Well, I'm feeling confident after what I saw from Angeli yesterday.
yep.
There's a few things he can clean up, but he could be QB1, and if needed, when needed, he can step into that role, and he can look like the
Yeah.
Sun Bowl guy we saw in the early part of the year into last season that won us a game handedly. So
Yeah. Notre Dame, I mean, we're in a good spot right now. I know it sucks still that NIU's still in a lot of people's mouth and that performance from Riley Leonard, but we got a really good stretch coming up here. We've got, obviously, Miami of Ohio at home next Saturday.
one game at a time. Let's not go beyond that.
I'm just saying 0-2 Miami of Ohio. But we got three straight home games, which is
Yeah.
a nice stretch for the team. I mean, and then we've got Louisville, which would be a tough team, then a bye week, and then home again against
Stanford, I think.
Yeah, Stanford, if I look behind me. So, yeah, I think a nice stretch for Notre Dame fans. A lot to build on these next couple weeks, though. Obviously, the team's taking this 1 week at a time, but I just think it's a good time. We'd be feeling better if we're undefeated, but it's a good time for Notre Dame fans. We just put up a lot of points, a lot of positivity to take from that game.
Yeah,
Definitely room for improvement. So,
yeah.
I
there's-
have a lot more confidence in them after.
yeah, I mean,
this
I just think this just makes us realize we've got so many good skill players, and we've got so many good defensive players. It just, once again, can Notre Dame quarterback figure it out?
And that it really goes back to that whole, there was this contingent that was really loud last week about fire Coach Freeman. He died.
Yeah.
They were down on him. I think that quieted the noise quite a bit, but it shows why he's going to get a third and fourth year because the talent that he's bringing in.
Oh my gosh, we're loaded.
It's not a talent issue at all. I think the only reason we lost NIU was just we didn't have the focus. Yeah. And I think he's got a lesson learned, and I think that this team learned, right? They learned, like, we've got to take every opponent seriously. We've got to come in to win. We can't just say it's Purdue and just show up. We got to come in and play the game. And if they learn from this becomes a very dangerous team going forward. And we beat a very good A&M team, I think. And, A&M won yesterday.
Against Florida, yeah.
They beat Florida. And, you can look at Georgia. Georgia narrowly escaped a Kentucky team. So everybody's beatable. I mean, you do not have to fear Georgia, who everybody says is number one, end to end this season. You don't have to fear them because there was a
just make all their players drive, and then we should be fine.
Yeah, exactly. So it's a real strong case for us if we just take it one game at a time. That the mentality is that playoffs start now. We've got the talent, we've got the potential. If we bring the focus, this team's going to have a good season still. It's not out. So, again, we talked about this is one data point. You don't get too excited. I mean,
3 games in, 9 to go, right?
I'm not ready to submit Riley Leonard's name to the folks in New York for
You're my love, though I am.
But even though he had the impressive stat comparing him to Lamar Jackson, I just think you're in that spot where it's like, okay, we feel better, but we don't feel great. And that's kind of where I hope the team is. I hope the team's in a spot today where they wake up and they feel better, but they don't feel great. They're still hungry, and they want to bring in that same intensity when Miami of Ohio shows up. And I think MAC schools are dangerous. So we got to look.
Yeah, I mean, I think the MAC's a lot better than people think. Just getting as a Toledo put a butt whooping on Mississippi State on the road last night. So, I mean, look out for the MAC.
What conference is Mississippi State?
And I think that's the football conference, the SEC.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. I mean, the SEC is the greatest thing since sliced bread, is what I've been told.
Well, and what's Toledo? They're projected to finish middle of the MAC?
I think top 5, but yeah.
Yeah, okay. Top
three,
third of the MAC
top
then.
3, yeah.
So you got a good Toledo team, but they whooped up.
Yeah. On the road, so look out for the MAC peeps.
Right, so we got to be careful because when I'm looking at trends, clearly Notre Dame plays better in hot weather than cooler weather. That's
build the dome.
Hot, so we're a warm weather team maybe. So it's gonna be warm.
Better on
weekend.
The road.
Yeah, we're better on the road right now. So those are some trends we can say. Now next week it's going to be warm. So if we play well next week, we know that's going to continue. That warm weather's in our favor. But if we play terrible next week, then we know we're just not a home team. It's not anything to do with the weather. We just don't like home cooking.
Yeah.
So we'll figure that out as we go forward. But I think right now the team's in a good spot. I think the coach is in a good spot. They're confident and they're happy with the win, but I don't think they're satisfied with the way we played.
Trying to get my thumbs up emoji now that I know how to do it, but I won't even do it when I try.
Are you trying to get clouds? Or
No, I'm trying to get thumbs up. I won't even do it now, huh?
All right. Well, you got to work on that. Balloons, thumbs up, whatever you got. All right, Christy, anything else from your side?
I don't think so. Go
Carter,
Irish.
You trying to get balloons?
Trying to get balloons. I know. It's closed fist. I found out. Closed fist. 2 fingers up.
Nothing.
No balloons.
See, when you try to do fancy things, it doesn't work.
Yeah.
When you don't try, it happens.
Well, that's what happens when you have a low-budget podcast.
Hey, it's a good time, though. I appreciate all you guys tuning in to episode 10. Yeah, that's right. Double digits. We made it. Episode 10 of Irish 365 podcast. Make sure you're checking us out on all social media platforms. And always reach out to us with comments, questions, and your overreactions, because it's a good time.
God bless.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of the Irish 365 podcast.
You can find us wherever you get your podcast.
We are on YouTube, X, Instagram, and Facebook.
Just search for Irish 365 Pod.
And you can always reach us at our email, irish365pod@gmail.com.
Good night.
And God bless.